Hi everybody, my name is Bethany Jett and I'm looking forward to sharing about content marketing today with you. I am a 5-time published author. I'm published with Abingdon Press, Kriegel, Revell, and Charisma House for 2 books that I was the ghostwriter on. And I've recently finished my Master's of Fine Arts degree in communications, where I focused on marketing and PR. And my goal was to take that knowledge and turn it into how to market and do public relations for writers and authors. So I'm really excited to share about content marketing because it was one of my favorite classes to learn about, and really content marketing was woven through many of the courses that I took. So I'm excited. I hope you're excited, and I'm ready to dig in if you are. So content marketing is basically creating and sharing relevant content. So relevant content to what you are writing about. And you're going to do that in a branded manner, which means all of your content looks similar. You're using the same kinds of color combinations or styles or feels. And you're doing that to attract or engage your audience with the intent to lead them to a customer action. And for us, that customer action in the beginning, if you don't have a book yet, could be follow me on Instagram, follow me on YouTube, watch this video, take my course. Maybe you're going to create a course on whatever topic you're writing about. Maybe you have a free ebook that you've created. Maybe there's a download that you want to share. Whatever it is, you're going to be responsible for creating content that's going to make them want to act. And so part of content creation and content marketing is having that in the back of your mind. Where does this go? Why am I posting this? And what is the customer or audience or reader supposed to do with this information? We're going to start with something we call Content 6, which is basically identifying who you are under 6 or less umbrella categories. So what I mean by this, if you were to take 6 boxes or to number your paper 1 through 6, what are 6 things that define you? I want to take a second and look at an example of a woman named Abby. On Instagram, she goes by the handle @crimebythebook. So I'm going to switch over to the Instagram page so that you can see her feed and see if you can identify some of the Content 6 umbrella categories that Abby has. And I will tell you, as an example, I think that she really has 3. So we're going to see if we can identify them. But first, an example of an umbrella category for all of us would be writer, because that identifies us. If you like coffee, could be an example of one of your Content 6. Maybe you love outdoor sports, and so that would be one of your Content 6 umbrella categories. It can go beyond writing. So let's jump over to Instagram for a second and look at Abby's, because it's very reader focused. And then we're going to jump back into the slides here so that we can help you discover what are your Content 6 umbrella categories. So here we have Abby, who is known as Crime by the Book on Instagram. I love her feed. If you've ever been in one of my marketing classes before, you've probably heard me talk about her or seen her feed before. So I'm going to scroll through her feed in just a second, but try to see if you can come up with 3 of the umbrella categories that I picked out as well. So we'll see if we come up with the same ones. So as you can see by her bio, she's really interested in crime fiction. And she works for a publishing house, so she has lots of books and does book reviews. So I'm going to scroll through first, and then we're going to look at a couple of her posts so that you can get some ideas on how you can be delivering this kind of content as well. So here we go. I'm just scrolling through. You might notice that it's a lot of the same exact pose, if you will. The foot out, so you can see the foot or shoe, and interestingly, you never see her face. So a lot of people will not want to get on Instagram, or they're not going to want to do a visual type of social media because they don't want to be on camera. And that's okay. If being on camera isn't your thing, there's other ways to do video. but this is a beautiful feed, and she's never once got her face in here. All right, so I'm just gonna stop here and I'm gonna go back up, but I also want you to notice if you recognize any of the same backgrounds in the photos. So scarves and shoes are the dead giveaway. So I'm just gonna scroll through. You're gonna see the same scarf over and over. Maybe you'll see the same table. So like here, for example, we have this pretty tiled table, but if we scroll down a little bit longer, here's the same table. Let's see, she's wearing gray boots and that scarf. So different scarf, different shoes. So maybe it was a different day, but here we have the same shoes as in this photo with the other scarf. I have an idea that she takes lots of pictures at the same time and then posts them in different days and different spots. So here again, we have this scarf, the same table. She's batching her photos, which is a really beautiful way to get a lot of pictures at one time and create gorgeous content. Here's that same table, but you can see the other table in the background. So she's getting just a different shot here. Just to scroll up, we got a slipper in this photo right here. Here's that slipper again. It looks like the same jeans right here. There's that marble tabletop as well. And maybe that's at her house. I don't think so though, because of the other tables that were in the background. Got a library. Okay, so scrolling, here's those same pants and that slipper again. And actually this looks like the same shot. So let's look at this photo right here. Looks like a white desk and a slipper. Here's that white desk again and the slipper, maybe just a different view. Same day maybe that she took the photo. You don't have to create pictures every single day is my point here. Okay, so we looked through Abby. Let's go and look and see what actually she's doing inside of these posts before we go back to the content 6. I'm gonna click on our first one. This is called microblogging, and we're gonna talk just a little bit about that in just a few minutes. A microblog is just that. It's less than the 500, 700 words that you would see on a blog post, but people will read this type of longer content on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. You don't have to have just 1 or 2 sentences. In here, she, of course, is talking about this book, Watching You by Lisa Jewell. She's giving you her opinion on it. She goes into a little bit of a review and sharing about the plot. She's recommending it, and then she's asking a question, and she's asking people to talk to her about it. And then she has a bunch of hashtags here in the very first comment. And so as you can see, she's got an engaged audience. There's even, we can click on this and see even more people who are talking about it. But basically the thing is, people who love crime fiction and they find her, they look to her for advice. I will tell you that I have even at the library gone onto her Instagram account on my phone and was going through her stories, scrolling through her feed, and then going through these highlights looking for book recommendations for books that I could get from the library, because I also like crime fiction, which is one reason how I found her in the first place. Your readers can look to you as the resource expert in the area that you write, the kind of genre that you write. Now, this is fiction, and this is a nonfiction class, but what she's doing here is becoming an expert on a topic. So whatever you're writing about or themes that you're writing about, you can become the person who is saying, hey, this book just came out by so-and-so. I love it. Here's why, and I'm recommending it. You can start doing these little mini reviews yourself on the same topic. That gives you credibility, and it makes you the person people trust. And as you're writing your own book, you're able to sprinkle that in through your social media as you build readers for that type of book. So in that one, she did a little review. Let's go into this one. Same thing, she's just sharing a little about what she's doing. It's Friday, and a little bit of talking to everyone. She's still reading the same book, so she gives more than one post is dedicated to that book. And let's just see, so we've even got Watching You here as well. Let's see what this one is. Just scrolling through, I'm getting back into Watching You by Lisa Jewell. And then she tells a little bit about the book here as well. So a couple of her different posts are talking about that same book. Anyway, not to just keep harping on her, but I think she does a really good job when it comes to finding her readers. And I think sometimes as writers and authors, we don't go after the readers. We're just trying to get people to buy our book, but we're not actually giving the reader the information that they want. And in this case, readers of crime fiction or readers of any genre are wanting recommendations. They want to talk about the books that they like and they love. So let's go back to our slides, and I'll scroll through one more time. Can you pick out 3 umbrella categories from her feed that tell you a little bit about who she is? All right, so let's go ahead and go back over here. All right, so going back to the content 6 umbrella categories, here were the 3 that I thought really fit her feed here. Coffee was in almost every shot. Obviously crime fiction, which she has in her bio and in her username as well. And then book reviews. To take it a step further, she's really just sharing about books and giving her opinion and making recommendations. If you write crime fiction, she's going to be somebody that you want to review your book on her feed. So this is what content 6 looks like based on this one Instagram account. As an example, think about what you're writing. Even if you don't have a book out, you can go to the library or pull books off your shelf and start recommending them, telling readers about them, giving a review of them. And the thing is, you've read so many books about the topic that you write about that you would be able to do this very easily without having to go read new books. But you could also go to Amazon and look up the number 1 through 15 books in your genre or your subcategory. You could go to Goodreads and look at the Reader Choice Awards from 2019, which just came out. Even go back 2018, 2017. You could do a whole series. On your website or your blog, you could say, hey, here's the top winning books in nonfiction for the last 5 years based on Reader's Choice over at Goodreads, and write a blog post about that. Put it on medium.com and maybe share links to those books, and then also give your opinion if you've read them. Those are great things to do, and that's giving your content to your audience and finding an audience that will appreciate the kinds of things that you're talking about. So what are your content 6? And so the idea here is, and specifically for Instagram, these are the things that you're going to post about on Instagram, or if you were trying to get a Pinterest page started, these would be the 6 categories or 6 boards that you could get started with if you're trying to figure out how to get started on your content marketing. So I threw some examples in here. Writing, obviously, is an umbrella category for all of us because we're writers. You could also have an umbrella category be your genre. And what I mean by that is, what type of nonfiction are you writing? Are you writing YA nonfiction? Some of you might be in here who are writing children's nonfiction, adult. What kind of self-help? What subcategories on Amazon is your book going to be? Devotionals? Like I said, you can also do a book. Another umbrella category for you could be other topics that you write about. Maybe you love business and entrepreneurship, but that's not what your book is on. But those are topics that you love. So those are other things that you can be posting and sharing on social media and writing articles about. Your hobbies also are things that you can be posting about online and on Instagram even, because the thing is, people are interested in more than one thing. And so you're basically making yourself a well-rounded person, displaying that on your social media, because people who find you through a hobby, they might also be readers of your genre. And so by having more than just books on your feed, you're able to get more readers this way. Now for Abby at Crime by the Book, she might have a personal profile that is more for her friends and family that talks about hobbies, but she's chosen to really go very niche in the crime fiction, and that's what she does for her job as well. So you can do 3 if you want to. You don't have to put all of these things out there, but it just gives you a chance to go a little broader. And then obviously coffee was one of Abby's, in my opinion. If you love coffee or tea or whatever it is that you drink, Michelle Medlock Adams, for example, she's known for her half and half, which is a half regular, half diet with a shot of like a cherry syrup. And that's her drink of choice, and a Polar Pop. And so sometimes you'll see those in her pictures because she doesn't like coffee. So that is just a fun way for people to see a little bit about your personality. So what I hope you're doing is making your list. And once you get your 6 umbrella categories, you can put subcategories under that as well. So if your hobby is gardening, maybe some subcategories of that are going to be how you're using your garden for food or recipes from your garden. All of that can fall underneath your umbrella category. All right, so we're going to move into kind of thought about, okay, what are some things that we can talk about and write about as nonfiction authors going into content marketing, looking at that as a way to attract our readers. The first thing we're going to do is we have to create content. So once you have your content 6 categories, That helps you narrow down the kinds of things that you're going to write about, the kinds of things you're going to post about, and also, more importantly, the things that you're not going to write or post about. As an example, if you are not a health and fitness buff and that is not part of your content 6, then when you go to the gym, don't post it on your Instagram feed. It's probably not going to be something that you're blogging about, and chances are you're not writing articles for Health and Fitness World Today or whatever. But it is something that you could share in like an Instagram story or a Facebook story or on your Facebook personal wall. There is a place for all of those activities in our life, but when we're trying to think about content to get in front of our readers, we really want you to stick to the content 6 because I think it just helps you funnel. One of the things that I love to say is that if your primary goal on social media in particular is just to sell books, then you'll lose every single time, because engagement and creating resources and really helping people is the point. And the thing is, book sales will come. Books need to be part of our marketing plan, not the main end goal. And you've seen people like on Twitter or Facebook, they're always trying to get you to go read their blog, or they want you to buy their book. And it's really nothing in their marketing that has to do with you. It's all about them. And I tend to tune those people out or even mute them or ignore them because it's all about them. Buy my book. Instead, we have to change that narrative. So I'm excited to share an example from John Deere. So when we're creating content, one of the most amazing marketing publications is called The Furrow. And the current publications manager says this, and I am going to read it from the screen: telling stories that folks enjoy reading and that they can use in their own operations has been the recipe since the beginning. Telling stories. Can't we all use fiction, craft, storytelling aspects in our nonfiction make for a better book? The Furrow is nonfiction publication from John Deere. It's one of the oldest publications and widely revered as one of the best in content marketing. In fact, their first issue was published in 1895, and back then it had over a 4 million consumer reach. In 1895, it started, and by 1912, it had more than 4 million consumers. And today, it still reaches about 570,000 in the US and Canada, and over 2 million globally. So this is just a shot of what it looked like. If you ever find one of these at a yard sale, snap it up because they are worth a pretty penny, especially if you can find some of the earlier editions. But their entire point, and just going back to the previous slide, telling stories that people can use is the recipe. And I think that we have to think about that in our own writing. Telling stories that people can use is the recipe. So we want to create resourceful content. On our websites, we should all have a resources page. Whatever types of writing that you write for articles or are trying to write for books, and it can be more than one thing, have resources. I often say for novelists, a lot of times they're not sure what kind of resource list they can make. And I ask them to think about their characters. What are they struggling with? What are the themes? If a character in a book, in a novel, for instance, is going through some kind of domestic abuse, then on the author's website, why not have a resource for domestic abuse hotlines, or 5 signs that your friend is suffering from emotional abuse or physical abuse and how you can help? Those kinds of things. Those are nonfiction. For us as nonfiction authors and writers, we know our overall topic. The question is, we have to figure out, what do our readers want to know? And we cannot just assume that we know. We have to do our research. And lucky for us as writers, research is one of our favorite things for most of us. One place that you can go to look for research is online. Amen, hallelujah. So Reddit, Quora, Twitter, Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups are great places for you to look and see, what are people asking? What are the questions that people have? How can I answer them? You can also go to other people's websites, basically your competition. And if you don't want to call them that, just call them your peers. What are the other people, the other players talking about that are in your field? Another thing to look at are what types of things are they posting about on their website? What blog posts are they writing? What are some of the giveaways that they're offering to capture your email? Do research on your competition, because obviously if they have a quite an engaged audience, the types of things that they're talking about are things that the readers, you're not plagiarizing by taking an idea. As long as you're not word for word writing it out, just take the topics and write your own version of it and then share that. There's lots of ways to come up with ideas on things to write about, videos to make, and you don't have to feel like you just don't know what to do. The first thing to do is figure out your content 6, discover who the key players are in those fields, do your research to find out what your readers want, and then go create the content. Some ways you can do that are to blog. Like I mentioned, have a resources page where you can link to different blog posts so people can have one-stop access to get the content that they need. I will tell you, I was trying to figure out how to have a butterfly garden in our backyard, and we live in Tampa, Florida. So I know that different flowers do well in different areas of the country, and there are zones, and I was trying to learn about it. But what I found myself getting frustrated is that nobody that I could find had everything in one spot. If somebody had said, listen, if you live in this zone, in this region, and you want to start a butterfly garden, here are links to the flowers that you need and this butterfly starter kit, and here's the fertilizer. I would have been able to click on those links, buy everything from Amazon. That person could have gotten an affiliate commission based on those click-throughs, and I would have become a fan for life because I would go back to that page and say, okay, how do I do this now? Looking to them as the expert. But nobody was doing that. They were just sharing information on the zone, or I'd find another website that talked about the different caterpillars to get or the different kind of flowers. And I was just dying for someone to say, here it is. It's super easy. Here are ways to get started for your zone, and then directly linking the things that I would need. One-stop shopping. And as a consumer, I thought, I need to be doing that for my readers. What topics am I writing about, and how can I get them everything they need with one click so they come back to my website and trust me? Obviously, I'm not a butterfly expert, but if you are, that's an idea, because I couldn't find that information anywhere, and I didn't want to cobble it together on my own. I wanted someone to do the research and the work for me. And isn't that what we all want when we're looking for things? Another thing to do to create content is to upgrade with freebies. And what I mean by freebies are add some extra videos to your website, to your blog post. Make it very dense and content rich so that when they find your blog post that they get all the information that they need. Maybe you show a how-to tutorial on whatever it is that you're writing about. Maybe create an ebook. You don't have to put an ISBN number on a PDF small ebook. You can still sell it. It doesn't have to go through the publishing process. Maybe you have a way to take beautiful photos and that you can give some of those away to people so that they can use them commercial free on their websites. There's lots of ways to create content and to give away some free stuff so that your readers feel like you really value them, and then they'll want to come back. Use images. So different studies have shown that there's a 94% increase in views with blog posts that have pictures in them. And then on Twitter, there's a 65% higher chance that the tweet will get retweeted if it has a picture with it. So don't underestimate the images. And just speaking of Twitter, even Facebook, you can connect GIFs to those animated little video clips to that. If you don't have a picture, to use one of those. Use video. I think we've been saying this for a long time, and it becomes more and more true. According to a Google study, 6 out of 10 people would rather watch videos that are online than on their TV. And if you don't think that's true, think about YouTube, which is the second most visited website behind Google, and Google owns YouTube, so that was a smart acquisition. And then according to marketing, 62% of people said they're more interested in a product after seeing it in a Facebook story. Again, it was talking about video content. But this is interesting as well, because sometimes we're resistant to try new things. And if you're on Facebook or you're on Instagram, the story feature, it's like a behind the scenes, unfiltered, although you can use filters on your pictures, little doggy ears or sparkles, or there's eyelashes on the Instagram one. So you can use those kinds of filters. But When I say unfiltered, I really mean behind the scenes. Let people know what you're doing, what's going on, show how to make the recipe, talk about the butterfly garden, demonstrate the things that you're doing, the things that you're talking about, because it works. It really helps people engage. Now, I know that this is a little bit of a blurry photo, but this is a guy named Jeff who works with Lead Pages, which is a company that I really love. And I posted on Twitter a picture of, I got some swag from them for being a customer for I don't know how many years, but they had sent some fun stuff. I took a picture of it and tweeted about it, tagging Lead Pages. So you want to offer surprise and delight to your readers and to your audience and to your customers. So instead of just retweeting or giving it a like on Twitter, this guy Jeff films a video, a short 5-second video. And he says, in reply to my tweet, "Hey Bethany, we're so glad that you're enjoying the Lead Pages swag. Thanks for being a customer. We really value you. Have an awesome day." That took less than 30 seconds to film, but it was incredible. And it made me feel so valued, and it had that wow factor. And what was even cooler about it was that he said my name in the video. So this wasn't just something that they had filmed and were just using all over Twitter. And the other thing is, my Twitter username is not Bethany, it's Jett, a shortened version of my first name and my last name. That means he actually had to go to my profile to see my name to make the video, which those extra steps just meant so much to me. Think about with your readers, if somebody gives you a good review or they retweet you, what if instead of typing back, what if you just film a little 30-second or less video thanking them or continuing the conversation? I know how much this meant to me, and it's something that I want to continue to do and do more of myself. Also, with creating content, you want to use audio, and that means podcasts. You can do radio interviews. You can use Zoom to record yourself. You can have slides happening, which is how I'm filming right now. I am not showing my face in this video, but I have my slides running. And then when you end a Zoom recording, it gives you both the audio version and the video version. So if I wanted to, I could take this audio and upload it to a podcast that I'm creating or use it for a number of things. And the thing is, people love video, but they love audio as well, because if you're watching something and working, you're multitasking or you're having to keep looking back at the screen. If it's audio, you don't have that. You can listen while you work. And so creating a version of your content in a video form, an audio form, and a written form, I think is the trifecta. So the next part of content marketing is sharing that content. So just to recap, we have done the exercise with our content 6 or less. So we know the topics that we're going to write about. Then we're actually going to do some research, figure out what our readers want, and create that content. And now we have to share it. So one way we can do that is by writing articles. You can post to medium.com, which is a website for readers and for writers. So they have free and paid versions on Medium. Basically, as a reader, you can pay, I think, $5 a month, and you get access to publications on Medium that are not accessible to everybody for free. As a writer, I think it's $50 for the year. You can join and you have the opportunity to write for paid publications that the readers who are paying get to read, and you have to go through a process to write for those. But the thing is, Medium is a really great place to expand and to content shared off of your website, but somewhere else where there are people actually congregating around those topics. So definitely something I recommend you trying out. And then also write for trade journals. In the back of your writer's market guide or the Christian Writer's Market Guide are trade journals. And Michelle Medlock Adams teaches this in her ghostwriting and freelance class. And she says that it's the most underutilized aspect of those market guides, because people don't go really looking for them because they might not be the flashy ones, but they're very niche. And so if your day job, for example, let's say you're a pharmacist, but you don't write about that for your writing career, that industry, there are probably some trade journals in the pharmaceutical industry that you could write for to get some publication credits. And that's a great thing. Another way to share content is to showcase other people. And so one way to do this is to retweet people, Repost, there is an actual app called Repost that you can repost Instagram photos, and it gives credit to the person. You want to be careful what kind of photos that you repost, though. If it's branded content, meaning it's definitely a picture that somebody took and they own, don't repost that. But there's a lot of memes that are there for the reposting. Just have to be careful. I'm not telling anybody that you can just take photos, because you have to be very careful about that, because there are copyright rules. So I feel like that's my disclaimer. But the repost things, link to other people's blogs on your website. That's really good for your SEO, especially if they are blogs or websites that are well known. Somehow those algorithms and those little crawly things that go in the back end of the websites, they know how to rank all of that stuff. One really nice thing to do on Instagram is to feature somebody else in your Instagram story and ask your people to follow them, or in your feed if you're going to repost a meme or something, say make sure to follow so-and-so for more of this kind of content. You're basically giving the other person a boost, and they might have a bigger audience than you, but that's okay, because then your audience is learning to trust you as expert, because you are the one who found it for them. And any way that you can save somebody time is a win. And by sharing other people's content that's going to be valuable is a win for your reader and for your audience. Because truly, it's all about engagement. You can have 500,000 followers on your Instagram page, for example, but if you're only getting 10 people to like your posts, it makes it look like you bought those followers and that they're not real. And so you want to be posting things that people are engaging with. And this is where you get to test which posts did better, what time of day did I post, and it really worked. If you're posting the same kind of content and it's not going anywhere, it's time to change and pivot the way you're posting that content. So it's time to explore, and it's time to figure out the best way to be sharing the kind of content, because you've worked hard to develop it, and you want to make sure it's reaching your audience in the right manner at the right time. There's a lot of power in new media. Basically, you have, just a real quick recap, traditional media would be newspapers, radio, television ads, direct mail. Basically, traditional media is a one-way conversation. You can yell at your TV all you want if you're watching the news, let's say, or a football game, but the people on the TV don't respond back. New media is where you're actually having a two-way conversation. Social media is part of this. YouTube is part of this. Wikis and blogs and podcasts. If you think about it, there's really not a big difference in traditional media and new media, because at the core, TV is video, the radio is audio, and a newspaper or a direct mailing is written copy. New media is, let's take YouTube or live streaming or IGTV. That's all video. Podcasts are audio. And all of the content that we're putting out in blogs and wikis, where people can give comments on our social media posts and things, that's written copy. So at the core, it doesn't really matter how we're getting the material out there, as long as we know what audience we're writing for, which form of media they're going to most likely see, and then making sure that we're engaging with them, especially on new media. If they're leaving comments, we're commenting back. We're engaging in that. We're not letting social media or YouTube or websites be places where people have one-way conversation when that's not what they're expecting. Another key rule is to be where your audience is. If your audience for your books lives on LinkedIn, then you should be on LinkedIn. Even if it's not your favorite thing, you don't have to live on LinkedIn as a consumer, but you should be living there as a marketer. What we have to remember is that our audience doesn't only read blogs. For the majority of the people that I love so much and I follow personally, 99% of the content that I consume from them is not from their website. And pretty much the only time I go to their website is if I'm looking for like a blog post, or if I'm researching something and I want their opinion. That's when I'll go to their website, because I can search easier there. Or I'll go on YouTube and I'll do a search for them to see what their thoughts are on a certain topic. For the majority of the people that I follow, I'm following them on Instagram, or some of them are on Twitter because that's where they are, or I'm following their YouTube channels, or I'm in a Facebook group with them. The idea of only using social media to drive people back to our website, I think, is an archaic one. I think it's important to be driving people back to our website, and there is a synergy using your website and your email list and your social media together. But you can do it in a way where that's not the only point. As a consumer, for example, if you're on Instagram and you're scrolling through and someone's, oh, go read my blog on my website, maybe you don't want to leave Instagram right then, and you're not going to go back. And so by doing a little bit of a microblog, gives people a taste. It gives them information that they needed. It can satisfy them, but then there can be more that they can get over on the website, and that's what the offer is. I think the archaic part when I said that is being stingy on social media, hoping that by not giving all of the content there, they'll have to go to your website to get it. And I think that is where the fallacy is. If you have a recipe for somebody, why not just put the recipe in the caption area of Instagram and take the pictures, or do an Instagram story where you're actually making it and showing all of the steps? You can have a full version of that recipe on your website, or maybe you have a bonus over on your website. What I found one time was, I'm always looking at consumer behavior and also looking at my own behavior. One time, a woman did have a recipe on her Instagram, and I found myself screenshotting. I would scroll a little bit, screenshot, scroll a little bit, screenshot, because I was trying to get the entire recipe into my picture so I would have it. And I thought, that's genius, because if she had said to get the recipe, go to my website, I wouldn't have done it. It would have been too many clicks for me to get there, and I didn't care enough. But I did care enough to take a screenshot, and I followed her. So you have to remember, blogs are not the end all be all, although I do think we should have that content on our website. So if you have questions about that, feel free to I can get on a soapbox about that and do a whole class on this, but just let me know I want to go into social media just a little bit. Each social media platform is like kids. We have 3 boys, and my oldest is very much my husband's mini-me. He is his twin. And our middle son he's a lot like me in many ways. And our third child, our third boy, is a real good combination of both Justin and I. And it's interesting that all these kids, they're all up. We try to parent the same. And of course, it's different when the second kid comes into the family, because now it's 3 of us. And then the third kid comes in and there's 4 of us. But each one of them has their own personality and purpose. And I've even had parents of twins say the twins are so different in personality, and they have the same DNA, but we're all unique. And I think that platforms are the same way. You have to know how to parent each child differently. And in the same way, you have to know how to utilize the different social media platforms differently, because users are expecting different things. This is something to take a screenshot. I don't want to spend a ton of time on here. This is on Gary Vaynerchuk's website. Down at the bottom on his site, he just tells you how to connect with him, but he goes a step further and he tells you what you can expect from every platform. So I'll start in the top left and go across, because I know this might be small on your screen. The first icon is Instagram. Next to that is YouTube, then Facebook, and then Twitter. And underneath of that, starting from the left, is Snapchat, LinkedIn, Medium, and then his podcast. So he has 8 different avenues of sharing content, as well as utilizing his blog. And so for each one, he shares what's going on that platform, so you can decide how you most want to connect with him. And so I'll just read Instagram. He calls it his favorite place. YouTube, where he's documenting his life, and he has 2 shows on there. Facebook is his biggest platform, stay up to date on what he's doing. Twitter, most direct and personal way for one-on-one conversations. Medium is where he's sharing his thoughts and details, so you can get a lot more information from him on Medium, probably than his website. And his podcast, of course, LinkedIn, and then he has a Snapchat, which he says is an inside look at his life that he doesn't share anywhere. So for a consumer to come here who loves Twitter, but they want to see his shows, or they want to see the videos that he's doing, they might go subscribe to him on YouTube. Or they might be Instagram users, and it's an easy way for them to get in touch with them there. This is really thinking about the end consumer, and not saying I'm only going to be on Instagram because it's my favorite, and leaving everybody else out. So just something to think about. I think this is a great thing to put on our own website, something I'm going to be adding to mine as well. And just put up the social media accounts that you're using. If you're not using Medium, don't put it up there. But maybe this is something to aspire to. Maybe right now you'd only have 2 of these 8. Pinterest isn't even on here for him. So you just need to figure out which ones are going to be best for you, but also for your audience. Where is your audience? And you need to be in front of them. So Cody Moorhead is our creative director, and he's got some classes on branding and really great stuff on branding. He is so amazing at knowing what is current. He stays so up to date on making sure everything looks so fresh. But I did want to just touch really quickly on style guides and brand kits, because at the beginning of this class, we talked about content marketing being branded and cohesive. You want people to know that it's you when they see your content. And so some things to think about. What is your style? What is the tone of voice? And what is the color scheme or schemes that you're going to be using? Are there 2 or 3 colors that are going to show up in your feed or on your posts or on your website? People should be able to go from your Instagram to your website and have it look very similar. Maybe the content that you specifically post on Pinterest also matches that kind of style. But tone of voice is something else to think of. And as a serious writer, you can tell when posts are written by different people, just because we all have our own sense of voice. It's just something that we learn and develop as writers, but you should have one for your content as well. Now, I'm going to be sharing in the next few slides a bunch of Wendy's, the restaurant. Their Twitter is super funny, and they have so many followers just because of the way that their Twitter is run. And you wouldn't think that a fast food restaurant would have this kind of attraction or this following, but they do. So I'm just going to show some examples from Wendy's. So Kurt Kane, their Chief Concept and Marketing Officer, says this, and in case you're listening and not watching the screen, I will read it. This is what he says. We want to be likable and sassy. We don't want to be seen as sarcastic and rude, but we walk a fine line. Sometimes we get it wrong in tone. So let's go through, and because the font might be small on your screen, I will go ahead and read so this is from March 30th, 2017. McDonald's has a little video, and they tweeted, "Today we've announced that by mid-2018, all quarter pounder burgers at the majority of our restaurants will be cooked with fresh beef." Wendy's replied at McDonald's, "So you'll still use frozen beef in most of your burgers in all of your restaurants?" Asking for a friend. They didn't just let it go. Like, they actually go after their competition. So it's not something that I'm recommending that we do as like writers and authors, but the fast food restaurant wars are something fun to watch. Now, here's the thing. I don't know who this person is, but Sage Larazzo, she retweeted Wendy's and she said, "Savage Wendy's not only tweeted this, but also promoted the tweet." So basically what happened is, I'm going to go back so you can see. So when the restaurant replies to McDonald's, basically calling them out that not all of their burgers in all of the restaurants are with fresh beef. Not only did they reply, but then they promoted their own tweet, which was them slamming McDonald's. So that's why she said Savage Wendy's not only tweeted, but promoted it, which is super funny because that means they put marketing dollars into promoting that tweet where they were dissing McDonald's. So here's another one. This person says, at Wendy's, "My friend wants to go to McDonald's. What should I tell him?" And Wendy's replied, "Find new friends." Here's another one. This person said, "Wendy's, what should I get from McDonald's?" And Wendy's replied, "Directions to the nearest Wendy's." Here's another one. Kevin says, "Your food is pretty good. I have to ask though, why are your burgers square as opposed to being circular?" And Wendy's said, "We don't cut corners," which is super clever and super good. And it's part of their marketing advertising. Sometimes if you've ever seen their commercials or their banners in their window, we don't cut corners. We have the square burgers, not the round ones. All right. This person said, "Bet you won't follow me, Wendy's." And Wendy's wrote back, "You won that bet." And it was getting retweeted and people liking it. Walking that line between funny and sarcastic, just like their chief marketing officer said. So you can Google, if you want to look more at Wendy's, we studied them in some of our classes. They were just super great, super funny. And they're actually going to be talked about in this next part, which is something called newsjacking. As you're thinking about content to create, you're researching your topics and you're creating all this great content. Newsjacking is when somebody else, typically a corporation or a company, has spent a lot of money on marketing for whatever product that they're doing, but you're able to come in and ride the coattails of that other marketing. And for example, if your audience loves the Gilmore Girls, which is true story for me, my entire Facebook feed, my Instagram was full of people talking about the Gilmore Girls reunion or the new show that was going to come out a few years ago, where it was going back into the lives of them as adults. And I didn't pay for any of that marketing, the Gilmore Girls marketing, but it did offer a time where I could start joining the conversation and talk about it as well. So that can help you gain followers. It can help you gain readers. What I should have done was write some blog posts or some articles based on the show, relating it back to dating, because I have a high school dating book that I wrote. And so that was a missed opportunity, but that would have been a good example of newsjacking. If you remember from last year, the chicken sandwich wars, when Popeyes released their spicy chicken sandwich, which was on a buttered brioche bun with pickles. Does that sound like anybody else that you know? So Chick-fil-A said this on Twitter: bun plus chicken plus pickles equals all the heart for the original, because it is pretty much the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich. Popeyes responded, and they said 2 words: y'all good? Y'all good? ? That started the chicken sandwich wars. Basically, it flooded on Twitter and then overlapped into Facebook, where people were going out to do taste test comparisons between the 2 sandwiches. It became such a phenomenon that Popeyes ran out, and they were out for a few months. They did not expect the kind of crazy viral thing that happened. I didn't even get one until they brought them back, because I missed out. But people were waiting in line for hours to get their hands on one of these sandwiches. And I will tell you, I've only had one, but they're really good. However, because of the war that got, okay, and look at this, if you can look at the screen, 86,000 retweets, 323,000 likes. And that was just at the time of the screenshot from the article that this came from. Apex Marketing Group said that as a result of the chicken sandwich wars, Popeyes reaped $65 million in equivalent media value, meaning that if they had to put a dollar amount on the amount of coverage that they got from that, it would have added up to $65 million. Now, here comes Wendy's. Newsjacking. They tweeted, y'all out here fighting about which of these fools has the second best chicken sandwich. Because here's the thing. If all of Twitter is talking about chicken sandwiches and your company has a chicken sandwich, then you should be talking about your chicken sandwich. It doesn't matter what marketing plan you had in place for the time, you'd jump on board. And so I know that the McDonald's out where we live, when all this was happening, they started promoting 2 chicken sandwiches at the time. And that's just smart, because that is what was going on. One way that you can pay attention to what's going on out there is to use a Google alert for a topic, or for whatever you're writing. If there's a specific place that you're writing about, set up a Google alert about it. If someone in the news is talking about it, you want to know, and that'll help you stay up to date and in touch. So I know that was a lot of information in a short amount of time. This is my family, my 3 boys that I was talking about. And I just want to say thanks so much for sticking with me for this workshop. All of the things we talked about can really be explored more in depth, but I wanted to give you an overview and dig into the content marketing and give you some ideas on how to get started to really offer amazing value to your readers and really build yourself up as the resource expert, the person that people can come to for your topic. And by building this audience, it's going to give you a better chance of the marketing plan you're going to need when your book comes out. Whether you publish traditionally or self-published, you're going to have to do so much of the marketing. But again, I really believe the book is just part of your entire plan. And it's this platform, it's sharing and engaging with your audience that is the most important. And I believe that 100% with all my heart. So I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that marketing feels a little less scary. And I wish you and your family all the best. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, leave them in the comments, you can send me an email, and I hope you guys have an amazing day. Bye-bye.